For my capstone project, I chose the research strand. My guiding research question was, how does the COVID-19 pandemic compare to the Ebola virus disease? I found that compared to the 2014 to 2016 Ebola virus pandemic, the coronavirus is not as dangerous because of the low mortality rate, its average symptoms, and its manner of transmission. But first, what is the coronavirus and what is the Ebola virus disease? The coronavirus is a retrovirus that was discovered on December 31st, 2020, after the World Health Organization received a report about a cluster of cases of viral pneumonia in Wuhan, China. The virus was then recognized as a new coronavirus called COVID-19. The Ebola virus disease is classified as hemorrhagic fever and was discovered in Guinea, a country in West Africa, on March 23, 2014, after the World Health Organization reported cases of Ebola virus disease in the forested rural region of southeastern Guinea. First and foremost, the coronavirus's mortality rate is extremely low for a virus that has infected almost every country. Having infected over 170 million people worldwide, out of every person it's infected, it has only killed 3.7 million people, while 155 million people have recovered. This makes the virus have a survival rate of around 99% and a mortality rate of around 1%. On the other hand, the 2014 to 2016 Ebola virus disease outbreak infected 28,000 people and killed 11,000 of them, leaving it with a mortality rate of around 40% and a survival rate of around 60%. When people who contract the coronavirus have such a high chance of survival, it's no mystery as to why there are people who protest the idea of wearing masks to stop the spread. Because there's such a high chance of survival, people do not feel the need to be wary of contracting the virus, because they know that the chance of them dying is very low. However, when news of the Ebola virus reached the US, a poll showed that 40% of Americans believed that there would be an outbreak in the country, and more than a quarter worried that someone in their immediate family would be infected within the next year. Though there was never an outbreak in the US, Ebola patients were brought there for treatment and all of them recovered, making Ebola patients in the US have a 100% chance of survival. This was primarily because the US has a healthcare system that is a lot better than the ones in the West African countries that were affected, meaning that the citizens of the country didn't have anything to worry about because of their technological advancements. Still, if the Ebola virus were to spread as much as the coronavirus did, where developed and developing countries were dealing with outbreaks, the majority of the population would have a 40% risk of dying, because only 17% of the population live in countries classified as developed. Out of 195 countries, 152 of them are considered to be developing, leaving only 43 or 22% of them being considered developed. With so many countries at risk, the deaths caused by the Ebola virus disease would have been in the millions instead of the thousands, having the potential to greatly surpass the number of casualties caused by the coronavirus. Secondly, the average symptoms of the viruses have a few similarities but differ in how severe they are. First, the coronavirus symptoms include a fever, a dry cough, and fatigue, which are similar to symptoms of the flu. Since the symptoms are not very severe, around 80% recover without needing hospital treatment. After people are exposed to COVID-19, the time for symptoms to develop is on average 5 to 6 days, and the symptoms can last for 1 to 14 days, which is why people are told to self-isolate for 14 days in case they were in contact with the virus. Moreover, the Ebola virus disease's average symptoms include fever, fatigue, muscle pain, headache, and a sore throat, which are followed by vomiting, diarrhea, rash, symptoms of impaired kidney and liver function, in some cases internal and external bleeding, and laboratory findings include low white blood cell count and platelet counts and elevated liver enzymes. The symptoms caused by the Ebola virus disease are more severe than those caused by the coronavirus. If a person had a low white blood cell count, the risk of them developing a life-threatening infection would increase because white blood cells fight off infections and other diseases. If there aren't enough of them, infections and diseases will overrun the body. It's symptoms like these that make the Ebola virus disease as dangerous as it is. To make matters worse, it can be difficult to distinguish the virus from other infectious diseases such as malaria, typhoid fever, and meningitis. Because it's hard to distinguish the virus from other diseases, doctors may not know how to treat their patients, which will in turn cause them to have to wait until they're certain of what kind of disease it is so they can treat them properly and not cause any unintended harm that could potentially make the situation worse. A virus that exhibits symptoms like these shows that it's a virus that needs to be taken seriously if symptoms develop because of how severely it can affect your body, unlike the symptoms of the coronavirus where its symptoms don't affect you as much. the methods of transmission that the coronavirus has are nowhere near the amount of the Ebola virus disease. To begin, both of the viruses are believed to have originated from animals, those animals being bats. It is thought that fruit bats are the Ebola virus disease natural host, and for the coronavirus, there's a possibility that bats with the new coronavirus were introduced to the meat market in Wuhan, China, signifying that a bat may have started the pandemic. Although it doesn't mean that the virus started in the market, it only means that it played a role in spreading it because a 2020 study found that 14 of the first 41 people did not visit the market. The coronavirus is an airborne disease that can be transmitted through coughs, sneezing, shouting, talking, and singing because of the created respiratory droplets. Although there have been cases where the virus has been transmitted from a person to an animal, there isn't any proof that animals play a role in spreading the virus. The Ebola virus disease has been known to infect animals other than fruit bats and humans, such as monkeys, apes, forest antelope, and porcupines. It's possible to become infected with the virus from these animals through their meat and blood. To prevent that, people were advised to handle their raw meat with gloves and to cook their meat thoroughly if they were planning on eating them. Furthermore, people could become infected by other people by coming into contact with their body fluids like their blood, sweat, or saliva, either directly or indirectly by body fluids being left on objects such as bedding, needles, or medical equipment. When someone is infected with the virus, they remain infectious as long as the virus is still in their blood, which means that burial ceremonies that involve direct contact with the body run the risk of transmitting the virus to other people if the body was infected. However, unlike the coronavirus where people can still infect others without developing symptoms, a person infected with the Ebola virus disease cannot infect others if symptoms do not develop. Nevertheless, because of the Ebola virus's methods of infection, it would prove a lot more difficult to contain the spread of the virus if countries reacted late in dealing with it, as they did with the initial outbreak of COVID-19. In conclusion, the coronavirus is not as much of a threat compared to the Ebola virus disease because of its low fatality rate, the symptoms that it causes, and how it goes about infecting people. The virus may be nowhere near as dangerous as the Ebola virus disease, but wearing a mask is still in the best interest of everyone around you.